Chapter 10. The Road Ahead. Echoes of the Broken Crown. Chapter 10. The Road Ahead. 2 years later, spring returned to Valoria. The kingdom looked different now. Not transformed beyond recognition. Simply healthier. Roads that had once been broken carried steady trade. Villages damaged during the war had been rebuilt. Markets bustled with activity. Fields produced reliable harvests. The scars remained visible. Some always would. But life had grown around them. That, Arjun thought, was probably the closest thing to healing most places ever achieved. Not erasing damage. Building despite it. Arjun, the title still felt strange. Prince Consort. The formal announcement had occurred nearly 18 months earlier. The ceremony itself had been surprisingly modest. At Elara's request. No excessive spectacle. No grand political theater. Just family. Friends. Advisors. The small circle of people who mattered. The marriage had generated public interest, certainly. Yet what surprised many observers was how little actually changed afterward. Arjun remained responsible for infrastructure and economic development. Elara remained regent. They continued working. Arguing about policy. Reviewing reports late into the evening. Life went on. Which was exactly what both of them had wanted. Elara, some mornings were still difficult. That reality never disappeared. Several nights each year still brought nightmares. Certain anniversaries remained painful. Some memories always would be. The difference was that those moments no longer controlled her life. Years earlier, she had believed recovery meant becoming unaffected. Corvin had spent considerable time correcting that misconception. Recovery meant adaptation. Understanding. Choice. Not perfection. The lesson took a long time to learn. It remained one of the most important things she had ever learned. Arjun, one evening, he found Elara sitting alone in the western garden. Not unusual. She enjoyed the gardens. Especially during spring. The flowers had begun blooming again. Color spread across the palace grounds. Arjun sat beside her on a stone bench. For several minutes neither spoke. The silence felt familiar. Comfortable. Eventually he asked, "Long day?" "A terrible day." The answer arrived immediately. He smiled. "That bad?" 3 trade disputes. A pause. 2 border disagreements. Another pause. "And 1 advisor who attempted to explain economics to me." Arjun laughed. Elara's expression remained perfectly serious, which somehow made it funnier. Finally she smiled too. The tension eased. As it often did. Elara, a few years ago, she would have hidden the exhaustion. Pretended competence required invulnerability. Now she knew better. Strength and honesty were not opposites. The realization had changed her life. Not immediately. Gradually. The way most meaningful changes occurred. She leaned back slightly against the bench. "Corvin says I should reduce my workload." Arjun winced. He's probably right. I dislike that answer. Most people dislike correct answers. That earned a laugh. The familiar warmth settled between them. Comfortable. Steady. Home. Arjun Master Corvin retired later that year. Not entirely. Healers, Arjun discovered, rarely retired completely. They simply reduced the number of people they helped while continuing to help everyone anyway. The farewell gathering remained small. Personal. At one point, the elderly healer found himself standing beside Arjun near the edge of the celebration. The older man watched Elara speaking with several advisors. She laughed at something. The sight still felt remarkable. Not because laughter was rare anymore. Because it hadn't always been possible. Corvin smiled quietly. "She's doing well." Arjun followed his gaze. "She is." The healer nodded. Then looked toward him. "Thank you." The words surprised him. For what? Corvin considered the question. Carefully. For understanding the difference between support and rescue. The answer settled heavily. Because it touched the truth at the center of everything. Arjun shook his head slightly. "She did the work." "Yes." The healer smiled. "She did." A pause. "But having someone walk beside you matters." Neither spoke for a while after that. There wasn't much to add. Elara, years later, she would remember one particular evening. Not because it was extraordinary. Because it wasn't. No major political victory. No grand celebration. No life-changing revelation. Just an ordinary day. The sort of day she once feared she would never experience again. She and Arjun sat together on a palace balcony overlooking the city. Lights glowed below. People moved through streets. Life continued. The kingdom was stable. Not perfect. Stable. Her nightmares had become infrequent. Her panic attacks rare. Her support network strong. Healing remained ongoing. It probably always would. And that was all right. A cool breeze drifted across the balcony. Arjun sat beside her reading a report. Actually reading it. Which she found absurdly endearing. "You're working." Without looking up, he answered, "So are you." She glanced at the document in her lap. Unfortunately, he had a point. "That's different." "It isn't. It is when I say it is." Now he looked up. The expression he gave her suggested profound skepticism. She smiled. He smiled back. Simple. Easy. The kind of moment neither would have noticed years ago. Now she treasured them. Because ordinary happiness had once seemed impossible. Epilogue kingdoms healed slowly. People healed slowly too. Neither process followed a straight line. Both involved setbacks. Both required patience. There were difficult years after the Civil War. There were difficult years after the nightmares began. There were difficult years after grief reshaped entire lives. Yet healing happened anyway. Not because pain disappeared. Not because love solved everything. Not because anyone was rescued. It happened because people chose to continue. To seek help. To trust carefully. To rebuild. Again and again. Arjun never told anyone about the world he had left behind. That secret remained his. He carried it quietly. The way people carried many things. Some losses never fully disappeared. Some questions never received answers. Life continued regardless. And in the end, that was enough. Years after their first meeting in a council chamber filled with maps and war reports, Arjun and Elara still walked through the palace gardens together. Sometimes they discussed policy. Sometimes books. Sometimes nothing at all. The conversations mattered. The silence mattered too. Because trust had been built there. Respect had been built there. Love had been built there. Not through grand gestures. Not through destiny. Through consistency. Patience. Choice. One day at a time. And as the kingdom of Valoria moved steadily into a future neither of them could fully predict, they faced it the same way they had faced everything else. Side by side. Not healed completely. Not broken. Simply human. The end.